I think Maxx Crosby is going to Philadelphia. I think they have the player in Nolan Smith to trade, and they can mimic the same trade, and the arms race is just beginning, and I love the NFL.
Okay.
So guys, finally, the A.J. Brown trade drama is over, but it looks like Howie Roseman is not done yet. ESPN's analyst Bart Scott just went on Get Up and predicted that the Eagles could be making another massive move this offseason, a move that could completely change the way this defense looks going into 2026. And honestly, when you hear the reasons behind it, it actually makes a lot of sense. So today, we are going to find out if this move is actually happening or if it is just noise. What's up, Birds Gunning? Welcome to NFL Playbook Eagles. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, Bart Scott went live on ESPN and made a bold prediction. He said Maxx Crosby is going to Philadelphia. Now, let me be very clear here because this is important. Bart was not breaking news. He was not reporting insider information. He was not Adam Schefter calling the trade done. What he was doing was making an educated prediction based on what he sees with both rosters and both organizations right now. That is a prediction, not a report. But here is why it matters. When a former NFL linebacker who played this game, who understands defensive schemes, who watches this league closely, sits down on national television and connects Crosby to the Philadelphia Eagles specifically, that is not nothing. That tells you that Philadelphia as a destination makes real football sense. And Bart was not alone in that thinking. ESPN itself ran a trade proposal scenario connecting Crosby to the Eagles. That tells you something about how the rest of the league views this situation. Now look, Crosby to the Eagles is not a new conversation. This has been floating around for a while, and there is a real reason it keeps coming back. According to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, when the league was monitoring Crosby's availability, Philadelphia was specifically named as one of the teams keeping tabs on his situation. The exact words from Breer were that teams like Dallas, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, Philadelphia, and the Rams were all keeping tabs on his availability. So the Eagles were in that conversation. Although Howie Roseman publicly set expectations low for big free agency moves this offseason, still the team is keeping options open. Remember, Roseman is a GM who tried to trade for Micah Parsons last year, so he doesn't just sit back and watch other teams get better. He's always working. Now think about this from Crosby's perspective. He is 28 years old. He is in the prime of his career. He has spent 7 seasons with the Raiders, giving everything he has to a franchise that has not put the right pieces around him. The Raiders are still rebuilding. They're almost certainly starting a rookie quarterback in the fall. And the question that has to be keeping Crosby up at night is simple. Would he still be in his prime when the Raiders are finally ready to compete? So if Crosby wants a ring, where does he go? He goes to a contender. He goes to a team with an aggressive general manager who is not afraid to make bold moves. He goes to a team with an already elite defensive foundation. And when you line all of that up, Philadelphia checks every single box. Think about what Vic Fangio is building with this defense. Fangio runs a scheme that loves a dominant 4-man rush. He does not need to blitz because he builds fronts that create pressure with technique and pure ability. Crosby was made for that scheme. His ability to maintain pass rush lane integrity while disrupting an offense's timing is exactly the kind of edge rusher Fangio can build everything around. You put Crosby on one side and Jalen Carter working inside, and you put Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the secondary behind them, and honestly, that defensive group would scare every offensive coordinator in the NFC. But now, the real question that rises is, do the Eagles actually need Crosby, or is this a luxury move? Nolan Smith is developing. The kid has shown flashes of real edge rush ability. Jonathan Greenard is solid. The young defensive core in Philadelphia is legitimately one of the best in the league when you consider the age and the upside still left on that roster. And Howie Roseman has to think about the future, too. Jordan Davis needs a second contract. Jalen Carter needs a second contract. These guys are coming up, and the Eagles cannot give away their entire future for one player. But here's what I keep coming back to. Nolan Smith showing flashes is not the same as having a proven elite pass rusher who has produced 10 or more sacks consistently on one of the worst rosters in the league. Those are two very different things. And in the NFC right now, with the Rams just adding Myles Garrett to an already loaded defensive line, the Eagles cannot afford to sit back and watch. This city does not ask for perfection, but it does expect this organization to compete at the highest level
every single year. And there is a real argument that adding Crosby is not just a luxury, it might be the difference between a Super Bowl defense and a good defense.
Now, you know, liking a player and actually being able to get him are two completely different conversations. Based on everything that has been reported, the trade cost to acquire Crosby from Las Vegas would likely involve a first-round pick and at least one additional high pick. Some proposals floated publicly, including on ESPN, have even thrown Nolan Smith into the package. And that right there is the real debate for Eagles Nation. Would you trade Nolan Smith plus high draft picks for Maxx Crosby? Because that is the conversation Howie Roseman has to have internally before he ever picks up that phone. And what about the money? Crosby's contract carries heavy numbers, but here is the thing about how NFL trades work. If Roseman does what he does best and restructures that deal upon arrival, that first-year cap hit drops down significantly, making it very manageable. The front office has spent the last few months clearing out space for exactly this kind of window. The financial path is open. Whether Roseman chooses to walk through it is the question. Earlier this offseason, the Las Vegas Raiders reached a trade agreement with the Baltimore Ravens to send Crosby to Maryland. Both sides agreed to terms, the deal was essentially done, and then the Ravens backed out after their medical staff flagged concerns about Crosby's left knee, specifically complications related to a previous meniscus surgery. That deal collapsed because of a failed physical. Now, Crosby himself addressed this recently and said the failed trade is water under the bridge. He showed up to voluntary workouts, he says he is 100% healthy, and if that is true and the Eagles medical staff clears him, then the physical concern goes away. But any team pursuing him has to do their own evaluation. The Ravens saw something that made them walk away from a deal that was done. That is not a minor detail. That is the most important piece of information in this entire conversation. And the Eagles front office knows it. Look, Howie Roseman never gives up on a big move. He does not shy away from a difficult trade because the price is high or the situation is complicated. This is a man who tried to trade from Micah Parsons. This is a man who turned a roster in chaos into a Super Bowl champion. When elite talent becomes available, Roseman finds a way, and the league already knows it. That is why Breer named Philadelphia specifically in that group of teams monitoring the situation. That is why Bart went on national television and said the Eagles, not the Cowboys, not the Bills, the Eagles. Because when you think about which franchise has the aggressive general manager, the defensive identity, the scheme fit, and now the cap flexibility to make this work, Philadelphia keeps showing up at the top of that list. The Kalshi prediction market currently has the Eagles at 6% to land Crosby. I know that sounds low, but think about this. When the Rams acquired Myles Garrett, the odds for that specific trade were in single digits just 2 days before the announcement. 6% can flip to 80 overnight when Howie Roseman sees his moment, and nobody in this league moves faster than him when the moment arrives.
Now the question is that how many chances are there that the Eagles will actually go for this trade? You know what? Kalshi, a web-based prediction market platform, believes there are only 6% chances. But reports around NFL are telling us different story. The A.J. Brown trade opened the cap. The Ravens deal already proved the Raiders were willing to move Crosby. Crosby says he's healthy. Bart and ESPN are both connecting the dots to Philadelphia publicly. And Howie Roseman has never in his career sat back and watched another team get the best player without at least making a call. If the Raiders decide the rebuild is the priority and they want to maximize return now, and if Crosby clears the Eagles' medical evaluation, and if Howie puts together a package the Raiders consider fair, this thing could happen fast. Crosby alongside Jalen Carter, with Nolan Smith and Jonathan Greenard rotating inside Vic Fangio's system, Eagles Nation, that would be one of the most dominant defensive groups this franchise has ever put on the field at Lincoln Financial Field, and this city would go absolutely crazy. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because we talk Eagles every single week and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Fly, Eagles, fly.